Look, people, it's relatively straightforward. We start right. We start on the hour, right? And we do this countdown bit beforehand to allow a few people to just gather around and make themselves comfortable, get a drink, just be ready for when we kick off. You see, if we were to start on the dot of 8, you know how normally we get a bunch of people ask questions that we answered early on, it would be even worse. It would be catastrophic. We'd have to spend the first 10 minutes going, we'll just wait for a few more people to arrive, so we get that out of the way early while letting you settle in. I'm here, Adam's here. We're going to talk to you about the roadmap. Let's start the show. All right, Adam.
Hello.
There we go.
Right.
When does this start? We put a countdown timer on the thing. You better be being facetious. I'm just saying. There, no, I'm calling you out. Yeah, be honeydew. We put a timer on the screen and everything. Oh, for that. Ooh. Hello. Well, here we are again. It is Roadmap Tuesday. As I was saying to Adam, I was going, oh, nice, oh, Roadmap, and then I suddenly got fired up. So brace yourselves. There we go. Yeah, has it started? Very good. Thank you, Schwing, with all the X's going on in there. Nice to see you all. It is roadmap time once again. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Yeah. I'm enjoying the fact that it's still light outside, so the days are longer. It feels like I can get more done, which I can't. I still just do as much as I can.
Yeah, you'll notice the presence of the ticker now as well at the bottom. Read the ticker. Yeah, it's not going to help anything, but we've done it now. So there you go. Right. Okay. No, let's start with that. Right. DJ Kai. I expect. Today's patch. Well, we had a good run there of maybe 3 patches, maybe 4 that went out without a hitch, and today's patch has not gone out without a hitch. So we believe currently that both the Xbox and PlayStation updates have gone out properly, but the Steam update definitely didn't, and we think it's gone out incomplete. But it is currently being double checked. And that's the reason that the patch notes appeared and then disappeared again, is because we are double checking exactly what's wrong. We'll have it fixed within the next 24 hours. Fingers crossed, within the next 24 hours. It's likely to be solved within the next day. And then as soon as we've double confirmed what's in and everything, it will go again. This is partly because it is addressing the various bits and pieces in various different routes. And each of those are deployed as a separate package during the update process, and we want to make sure that everybody gets the same packages before we say what's in all of them. So it's possible there will be another console update alongside it if they're missing parts as well, but that should all be resolved in the next 24 hours. That is our belief at the current time. So yeah, sorry for the disruption, and to those of you on playing on console who currently have a mystery update, well, if you can find what's in there, then good going. But otherwise, it's one of those things. But we should have that resolved as quick as possible. Apparently, Adam's shirt looks almost nautical.
Well, that would be an excellent guess, because I am, in fact, in a tugboat this week. So I did see some comments about an air traffic control tower. It is a tugboat, actually, down in Southampton.
Okay. Well, hold on. There's another question's come in that is actually a good one to address early on. From Takeoff to Landing is asking what trains will be on Rivets, Penzance, West Cornwall route. We're still deciding, or that is still being decided, which is why they're not listed there at the moment. We're not being sloppy and not listing the trains. They haven't decided which ones are being done yet. That should be locked down fairly quickly. So fairly soon. I don't know exactly when, but fairly soon we'll list it as soon as we know exactly what that's going to be. Here's The other thing that kind of, if you didn't read the full roadmap article, I know that many of you skip past the opening blurb where I actually give some context to things and go straight to the list. It's fine, I don't mind, because that's what the streams are for. A lot of the... Actually, let's get what... rewind, start again. We'll get into that in a moment. To start with, let's go through what is in the roadmap, and then afterwards, I have a feeling we're going to be talking about the nature of the roadmap overall, and going from there. So to start with, Adam, how's it going? What are you being up to?
Well, we're in a minor lull, I would say, because we've come down from the work we've been doing on rapid transit and main specimen, and we're really just still firing up. I know we're the 20th of April actually, slightly shifted in where we did the switch over, but we're firing up on West Somerset and Bakerloo, and so far everything's gone really, really well. We've been making great progress on art features for West Somerset.
What does that mean in a general sense? Because otherwise it could sound a little bit woolly.
It's definitely woolly for now. But so I think the highlight for me, obviously, if you've been watching these streams a lot, then there is a standard set of features that don't appear in routes prior to Train Sim World 2. So we've been going back through and adding those features. One example being a new set of skies and the ability to climb up anywhere along the platform. But the improvement that has really made my week has been the introduction of level crossings on West Somerset. Now, obviously, West Somerset did have level crossings, but they were static. They just flashed their lights.
Right.
So now we have the working crossing gates, which is absolutely awesome. And these aren't just copy-pasted from another route. We have actually taken the correct gates that were there and animated those. So yeah, we have the white... the old-style white gates that swing out across the track and they meet. So that's really, really cool.
Did they look good?
Yeah, it really brings life to the route. And obviously, we still don't have traffic crossing the roads, crossing the tracks yet, but traffic is now moving around the West Somerset area, so really pleased with that.
Grab us a screenshot or two for next time, would you?
That brings.
Could you grab us a screenshot or two for next time? Mike won't mind.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's good to... I mean, people responded really well when we showed the work you'd been doing on container yards last time round. So
yes, I think it's a great point. Actually, we should do more visuals, especially as it seems to be taking a long time for the updates to come out, which we are working on. We are trying to resolve. That seems to be one of the last bottlenecks with the preservation crew, is getting a good workflow from when we've completed the upgrades to actually getting them released. So yeah, I'll start doing more screenshots. Yeah, especially so we've been playing with the timetable. So that when you're approaching a station such as Blue Anchor or Dunster, maybe with the crossing at the end of the platform, that you approach on a red signal, and then when the gates close or open, depending on your perspective, and you've reached the station, then the signal would clear. So it all looks like it's integrated. It's really good feel to it. It's very nice. So yeah, pleased with that for sure.
Okay, good. How's the rapid transit main spec art barn, all of that kind of stuff? Is that now entirely wrapped up?
Main spec barn is actually still ongoing. There's been some delays to the locomotive and audio updates. We are still going to do them. So the 146 and the 185 still on the radar to get work done to them. But my setup guy has been doing some experience training with other rolling stock. So that we make sure there's a lot of consistency with the main dev team and the routes they're building. So he's been away learning how to implement features, double checking his LZB setup, which is a signaling system, making sure AFB, the cruise control system, works, correcting things like PZB on the 182 that we saw some late feedback on recently following last stream. So we have actually spent some time supporting Long Island getting into QA. That was meant to be already be in QA, but there's been some delays. We do understand the frustration.
I've got more information on that, so that's cool. That's all good.
We'll get to that in a second then. So yeah, we've mostly been focusing on finishing up rapid transit. Yeah. So focus went onto that because what they want to do is try and bring out rapid transit and Long Island at least close together. That's the last plan that I heard. So a lot more focus went on to finishing up the rapid transit changes. And obviously getting the timetable and getting that tested, that's been quite a bit of a headache to make sure that's up and running. So yeah, some of the main specified work has taken a bit of a backseat, but it's still on the radar to be done. It is still scheduled to be done before my guy Martin moves on to the next stuff, which obviously will be the UK, the Bakerloo and West Somerset. So yeah, it looks like Rapid Transit and Main Specified will be separated in their releases. But yeah, as we know, the release of route upgrades has been a bit of a rough ride. We're still trying to sort that out. So yeah.
Okay, fine. So we've isolated the changes that have already been made to the DBBR 182 in the list this time round, and that's because that update is going to release separately to the rest of the Rapid Transit changes that you've made. Did you know this? Cool.
I didn't actually know that. No, I just know that I've done work.
I ask people things about stuff.
Releasing it, so
yeah.
Obviously, something else to bear in mind that we haven't spoken about for a long time because it was one of the first trains to be upgraded. But the 182 and its accompanying coaches are compatible with the livery designer. So looking forward to that being released as well. That was one of the first trains, back last year actually that we worked on.
Yeah.
So cool.
I believe. You see, this is where my memory's letting me down. But I'm pretty sure that those 182 updates are going to go out in the patch that releases just before Hamburg-Lübeck.
That makes sense. Yeah,
which is really not far off now. So where it makes sense, we've kind of pulled things together. So let's talk Long Island because I've got information.
Nice.
We'll see where it goes. So for those of you who've been following along the last few roadmap updates, last few streams, you'll know that Long Island is one of many updates that have been caught up in a bottleneck with our testing team, our QA team.
It's had plenty of beta forum testing. It's been with the beta forum now the whole time.
What's the feedback been like?
Good. Yeah, good. They are pleased. So that makes me very relaxed that we're on the right path.
What's pleased?
That the sounds are improved. That a lot of the passengers getting stuck on the track is good. The improved track rendering is there. So yeah, that's really cool. That services getting stuck by red signals. We do still think there's an issue on PlayStation for that. So I'm still working on that. And obviously, I want to qualify that just because we have worked on Long Island and we're not doing it anymore, that we've worked on Rapid Transit and we're not doing it anymore, that doesn't mean we're not going to come back to those routes. It's just we've completed our current targeted work package.
Well, that's it. I mean, part of the philosophy behind having the preservation crew in the first place is that it's about bringing routes up to current standard. And perhaps improving on where they were when they launched with some of the kind of standard bits and pieces, whether that's sound, lighting, holes in scenery. Sometimes that stuff is spotted earlier, sometimes it's spotted later. But either way, the preservation crew revisiting a route gives them the opportunity to make improvements, but fundamentally to make sure that the feature set in those routes is up to current. So for routes that were originally preserved from Train Sim World 2020 into Train Sim World 2, what we're talking about here is adding the livery designer, adding the scenario planner, adding rail driver support now, I guess. Although that actually happened after the launch. And now we're talking about passenger information screens as well. And we're talking about moving crossing gates. So as the core technology within Train Sim World updates, there's a very strong argument to be made for, well, you know what? It makes all of our routes better by adding this stuff in. So so that's why we're going to go back and revisit them. So just because we're done with Long Island this time around, we'll be going back again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But
at the moment, I feel like the preservation team is catching the main team. I was worried at one point that every release they would bring out some kind of new feature, and therefore we would struggle to keep up in updating the preserved routes. But actually, I think we're doing well to keep up. So we're bringing up the routes faster, than new features being added.
Yeah.
The only catch being that we haven't been able to get those releases out. So
yeah, and that's because of the testing bottleneck, and that bottleneck has come about because some of our releases have required extra testing time that hadn't originally been budgeted, and that knocks things along a little bit. And then extra stuff has come in which has required more testing time, and that knocks things along a little bit. And then, I mean, don't forget that that Train Sim World 2 itself was originally delayed by a couple of weeks. And you might go, well, that's only a couple of weeks. Well, yeah, but that's a couple of weeks that shuffles all the way down the line, and then everything else that misses moves things on down the line. There's a dependency set up there that means there isn't a massive amount of flex in the system. So what we've tried to do is ensure that we keep things coming along, but at the moment we're in a stall period while we catch up. We took the decision actually as a company, let's try and get the testing team caught up, because then there will be the natural gaps that appear between test cycles that will allow us to get these fixes through. So Long Island is very high up the list.
It is literally scratching at the door.
As
far as I'm
stands,
aware, it's next.
It is very high up the list, and I'm going to break with convention and give a rough estimate of when to expect it, and that would be within the next 8 weeks. Okay, it's within the next 8 weeks is when we're expecting it to be complete with test and released. I will, because I've made that rod for my own back, I will keep you appraised if that moves. Yeah, I know it's risky. I never give dates. I never do it. But you've been very patient. And therefore it's only reasonable that I dangle a carrot of some description when that's knowledge that I have at the moment. I'm optimistic that we'll hit it, but optimism doesn't buy you anything. You
taught Matt and I to put optimism at the door.
I'm allowed to break my own rules because I know the risks. So please do poke in every upcoming stream for Long Island updates, and I'll tell you the latest.
Cool.
So that's the state of play as it is. Now, on the subject of carrots, the roadmap is a partner program to the preservation crew. The two go hand in hand, like this, but nicer. And when we introduced the roadmap to begin with, it was to offer a bit of visibility where historically we'd been a kind of a black box organisation where you had no idea what was going on until it was literally about to happen. Now, we had what can best be described as an enthusiasm for revealing everything when we first started.
Sounds like me.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about me more than anything else. Is to reveal absolutely as much as humanly possible. The second we knew anything at all, we'd let you know. And that was all big and exciting. And when the roadmap first came along, we also had all of those initial preservation releases, which meant that it was all chugging through at a heck of a rate, because they were relatively quick to do. And we had the core development team working on those as well. So rather than it just being Adam's crew, it was probably 4, 5, 6 times that number of people that were working on getting this stuff out as quickly as possible. This was all good. And we put our entire slate of everything that we were expecting, stuff that we were making, stuff that everyone else was making, just slinging it all on there and letting the chips fall where they may. And now here we are, a little while later, and it feels like very little is moving. It feels like very little is actually happening on there, whereas actually the same amount is happening that it always has done. You've got a little bit less movement going through because obviously all of the initial preservation work has been done, and now we're into the more methodical full review approach.
Well, even so, I mean, on that respect, the routes have started to appear on the roadmap. You know, some work has been shown against them, and then they've moved off again. So yes, we were hoping that routes would appear and go through the chain faster than they have done. So that's a disappointment. But we've still been, if you look through each of the roadmaps, you can still see there's progress going through. But yeah, it's not reached the pace that we originally saw would. That could also be down to, I mean, putting the release part of it aside.
Yeah.
It could also be down to we actually decided to start taking off bigger chunks than maybe we originally thought. Maybe we were going to target just a handful of reports at a time, and maybe one or two features, and then move on to the next route and get through things faster. But it quickly became apparent that if we were going to go to this effort of updating a route, actually it'd be better and potentially more appreciated if we took our time and went through them a bit slower. So yeah, it's an ongoing process that we've been fascinated by the reaction to and been reading all the feedback about.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that what we're doing now is we're doing far more concerted, dedicated updates to routes. Someone just asked, when are we going to add passenger information screens to the preserved collection? When we get to that route. So Long Island, has it got passenger information screens?
It does, yes.
Rapid Transit, does it have passenger information screens?
It does, yes. And
Main
with the
spec
2021 timetable, they actually look really, really cool.
Just answer. I'm trying to illustrate a point, Adam, and you're slowing me down. So the point is, what we do is we bring each route up to spec and then move on to the next one. So we're not doing all passenger PIS at once, passenger information services, passenger information screens, to describe it how you like. We're not doing them all at once. We're doing one route at a time alongside all the other changes to that route. And that is the most effective way for us to do things, because once you become immersed in a route, whether you're doing passenger screens or you're doing crossing gates or you're doing scenario planner or whatever it is, if you're already immersed in that route, you know your way around it a little better than if you do one route, another route, another route, another route, another route. So it's a more efficient way to work. Here's the thing, though, is that all of this work is for naught until we actually release it.
Yes.
It just is. So to say that the two people you see before you are applying a little bit of pressure to the powers that be to kind of go, can we, release some of this stuff? Then that's all good. But unfortunately, the blockage that we've got going on in testing it's intractable. It's not something that we can just bypass. It has to be done properly.
And I'm sure there would be very little appreciation if we made any kind of rush through QA. So we certainly take that very seriously.
Yeah, we want to make sure that when we release this stuff, we don't make anything worse. As many of you know already, when the original Preserved Collection stuff came out, some of it did end up in a worse condition than it was in TSW 2020. And we definitely don't want to do that again. So we are going to, we want to take our time, get it right, and do it properly. I'm going to cover again, because we've had a few more questions on the Penzance. I'm going to have to start calling it West Cornwall. West Cornwall, we've got no further detail for you. Zero. There will be no further detail until there is further detail. I know you want more information right now, but we don't have more information to give you right now. There you are. That's all there is to it. All we could do, what we generally talk about in these streams, if you're new here, is we'll talk about the updates that Adam's team are working on, and then we'll talk about more stuff in a kind of a generalist sense rather than a specific sense. We won't show you anything new. You won't find anything new out here. You might find greater depth of information, but you're not likely to find anything, new and shiny and spangly and what have you. That tends to be accompanied, as I often say, by flashy trailers and bombastic drum-oriented music. So that's not what these streams are for. Also, if your question starts with when will, or will you ever, you're probably not going to get an answer. In fact, if it's when will, you're almost definitely not going to get an answer. And will you ever, you'll probably be told to go and post it on the suggestions forum. The reason that I point this out is just to save your frustration. They ducked my question. And your question was, are you going to make my favourite route? The answer is maybe, someday, don't know. That's not what we're here to talk about. Anyway, right. What about the Dostos? We have seen your feedback and it has been delivered. That's the only thing. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, the Hamburg Lübeck Dostos are using the low step. The screenshots are released have got the low step version in, whereas it should be, or more authentically, it would be the high step Dostos that run on that route. That feedback has been passed on. I have no further information for you than that, other than your strength of feedback has been noted. Yeah. There. Yeah. Good. Right. Okay. What else do you want to talk about, Adam?
I thought I'd give an update. I'm still trying to resolve the issue with freight exchange on Rösignord. I think I might have mentioned on the last stream that it's a combination of the route changing underneath the scenario and the scenario then being compatible.
Yeah.
So trying to work out the best solution with that. I haven't got to a solution with that yet, but I would hope to release that with main Specibahn. And that I'm still working on the heavy trains struggling to get up the grade on main Specibahn. I don't know if anyone's ever seen me posting about we don't really like to change timetables on trains and world routes because they can have very, very hefty knock-on effects. Something like changing the acceleration of the 166 on Great Western Express. If we've got a timetable that's working really well, we just don't want to go and upset that. Whereas on main Specibahn, obviously we had trains that couldn't get up the hill with the amount of traction they had compared to the weight because of the adhesion and the physics update that we did with Trains World 2. So we have to change that timetable. And that is quite an extensive job. I'm doing very best to maintain the timetable that's there, at least in terms of the number of services. But it is proving difficult. I've had a lot of people on the beta team helping with how much weight should these locomotives be able to pull, how long should the trains be. So we're getting some great information. But yeah, that's still ongoing work. Obviously, so far, we've only ever been talking about passenger information systems on stations. So adding the departure boards and things. And that's always very quickly met, quite rightly, with, well, what about the departure boards and the destination displays on the trains themselves? And to date, obviously, I've said that we don't know how that system works. But as mentioned earlier in the stream, my technical guy, Martin, who's been away learning some of these new systems and how to implement them, the on-train passenger information systems is one of those systems he's been learning.
Oh, that's good.
And we have our new train artist starting next week. Yep. So we're all really excited by that. So again, I'm not promising anything. You'll have to wait until it's on the roadmap.
What would be quite good, actually, Adam, for on-train information displays, find out if it's a similar kind of approach that is done with the platform-based stuff, in that it is effectively a modular system, and therefore once you've learned it, you've kind of learned it, and it's just a question of then making it bespoke to that individual unit.
From what I've learnt so far, it is, yeah. The bit that obviously isn't modular is the artwork per train. That does need to be done. I did try and get my environment artist Adam to look at can we try and trial this to see that we do understand what we're doing at the moment. And no, apparently an environment artist and a vehicle artist are two very, very different roles.
Yeah, they are.
To me, it was art is art is art. So I do apologise that I'm not cultured
Never
in
say
that
that
sense.
To an artist; they'll hit you with a chair.
Yeah. Well, I do know the difference between hard surface art and organic art, so I've got some idea. But yeah,
well done.
So yeah, we hope to bring passenger dynamic destinations on trains in the future. That'd be really cool, alongside the livery design stuff.
All right, let me back up for a sec, because I need to stay on a German kick. Are the Dostos on Hamburg going to be paintable? I believe they should be.
Yep. Yeah, they will be. Yep.
Yeah. Every new release, everything is paintable.
Yep.
Asterisk. Apart from the bits that aren't. But I'm not aware of anything we've released so far that hasn't been paintable.
That's correct, yeah. The only limitation is you can't pick your carriages or wagons that you've painted. You can only pick the locomotive. Carriages and wagons appear randomly at the choice of Train Sim World.
Right. So, all right. Well, that's a version 2 solution in waiting. So, yes. The Dostos on Hamburg Lübeck, whether they're still the low step or whether there's a high step version coming, will be fully paintable. And somebody else asked, while I'm staying in Germany, is there a rationale behind the lack of the cab car being usable for the DBBR 101, which is launching this week? And the answer is yes, there is, but I'm going to have the conversation that you and I would have at this point, right? So the reason that it's only the locomotive end that is fully operational on the DBBR 101 and why the cab car is not operational is because effectively to do both would be the same amount of work as creating 2 separate locomotives. Now, obviously not the model, because we've got the model built, but you would have to make the whole of the interior cab model functional, which is a significant amount of work. So it would be the equivalent of 1 3/4 locomotives. That's not a small amount. If it was an extra 10% of work to get the cab car working, then we would have certainly done that. So in order to make both ends of the 101 in its kind of standard intercity setup work, we would have had to charge more for it. Now here's where you come back with, I would have been prepared to pay that price. And to which I counter, true, but in your case, I don't doubt it, but for many other people, they would have complained about, why is this an extra cost? And that is the conversation that was had inside the company, and the result that was arrived at was, okay, well, let's keep our standard price for this, rather than have discontent from people that say that we're messing with pricing and therefore, we're up to no good. Instead, that it was a no-win situation from our perspective. You can argue all day about that we've made the wrong decision or that we've made the right decision. Either way, we would have had some people that were unhappy, some people that were okay with it, and there was no win to be had out of there. So it's not a happy conversation, it's not a happy rationale, but that is the reason that it is the way it is. Right, yeah, there you go.
I've seen during that, I've seen a lot of comments about people saying, well, we've done other trains that have got a locomotive, coaches and a cab car. And there are a lot of differences between each project. So, yes, other projects have achieved this and this project hasn't. And maybe projects in the future will achieve one thing and some another. So there is a large extent of case-by-case basis.
Yeah, no 2 trains are the same. No, and there's it's just an extra layer of complexity. Yeah. Why doesn't the DBBR have layers on other German routes? I don't know for a fact that it doesn't.
It hasn't come out yet, but funnily enough, I was trying to get it onto the new rapid transit timetable.
You were trying to.
Yes, unfortunately, I ran into some issues and I couldn't get it working. But I still want to try and bring that in. If we can add the 101 to other routes, then we'll certainly give it a go in the future. But until you see it on the roadmap, what you get in the package and its compatibility is what there is.
Michael says, why don't I just take my usual stance of buy it or don't? Because that's a glib response. By and large, I tend to use buy it or don't if there is this is good enough, this isn't good enough. And in the case of the DBBR 101, it either is good enough or not for individual players. But the question that was asked is why? And that's the answer I've tried to give. Ultimately, obviously, you can decide if if it's acceptable. But that's why it's turned out. Somebody else asked, would we do an operational cab car in the future? And I'm going to have to go, maybe. I don't know. That's not something that's been discussed so far, and therefore there's no cheerful answer to give on that one. I mean, it would be a good thing to do, but then you're talking about creating DLC for DLC, which is something we try to avoid where possible. Mm-hmm. For all of you people asking about Steam, right, and a couple of people noticed that the Steam listing on the roadmap has changed now to read Steam Update rather than just Steam, and that's because during Rail FanFest we announced Spirit of Steam, which will be the Steam launch pack, I guess you'd say. Is the Steam launch pack a separate thing? No, it's an add-on. It's part of the full shebang. Whereas the Steam update is the tech that goes alongside it that is going to be the free bit. Obviously, I mean, I feel like I need to explain here, but if you don't buy anything that actually uses Steam, then that Steam update may well be somewhat redundant to you. But there you go. It will be the same kind of thing. And it's the same deal with Rush Hour. You've only got another 2 weeks to wait to find out exactly what Rush Hour actually means. And I'm not allowed to tell you anything about what it means other than what I'm going to tell you now, which I haven't had sanctioned, but no one's going to yell at me. So we've got the break. Take this in, because I see this question a lot, despite having explained it a few times, because it's not the easiest thing to explain. You have Train Sim World 2 update. You then have Train Sim World 2 Rush Hour. These are two separate things. Rush Hour is an add-on to the full shebang. Rush Hour is our full release this year. Every year we do a full release. Last year was unusual last year, because if you didn't buy the full release, you couldn't play with the new stuff that came after it. That was unusual. That was a one-time thing. Until we do it again, we are not doing it again this year. The Train Sim World 2 update is a bunch of patches and fixes and upgrades and tweaks and this and that and stuff, and oh, that's nice, and oh, that's better, and all of that kind of stuff. That's as close as I can get to giving any concrete information on that one. The whole update shebang, bits and pieces, everyone gets that. Everyone gets it. You all get it. If you've got Train Sim World 2, you will get that for nothing. Rush Hour is, I'm going to use a word I don't like, content. Okay? Rush Hour is content. And potentially
I was told not to use that.
Context as well, I think, as to why it is. There you go. And there you are. Apparently, Adam, me and you, we've ruined the Penzance route.
Damn. I've not even seen it yet.
I'd barely started on it, to be honest. I might as well stop working on it now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there we go. That's what's coming. That's the delineation between the update and the Rush Hour pack. Is that the Rush Hour is a pack? The update is an update. Everyone gets the update for free. Rush Hour is a pack. I'm not even going to tell you if it's new content, existing content, a mixture of the both. I'm not telling you, because then Mike will throw a chair through the internet at my face, and JD will go, I was looking forward to kind of announcing that. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there it is. So there you go. Right, there you are. Now, why are we not giving you dates? Because we don't. Dates move. And this comes back to what we were saying earlier on about the roadmap overall, is historically, this kind of stuff was happening behind the scenes. Obviously, we didn't have Preservation Crew back then, so there was less revisiting of old routes to kind of bring them up to latest and greatest tech. But when it came to fixes, they happened. But you wouldn't have had any visibility at all over what was happening there. When it came to new routes coming up, you'd hear about them just shortly before they went on release. now you're seeing a little bit of, to use a phrase I use too often, how the sausages are made. And you're getting to see that, if we'd have bumped into a QA roadblock last year, you wouldn't have known. Because you wouldn't have had release dates until they were maybe 2 or 3 weeks out, by which time they'd have cleared QA. So it's a case of you're seeing stuff that historically you wouldn't have seen, and as such you're seeing how there are inconsistencies in there. So when we did the roadmap originally, we enthusiastically stuck everything on there we possibly could do, looking way out into the future. The TSG stuff that's listed, I said in the introduction that that's at least 12 months away. At least, and I might even add at very least 12 months away. But the guys working on it were very keen to start talking about it, so we put it on the roadmap. In the future, we might not do so, because we want the roadmap to be something where you can actually see some progress occurring. Take the 313, for example. Someone earlier said, we talked previously about the 313 and 101 being kind of neck and neck. In terms of progress. Why is the 101 now streaked ahead? 313 is waiting for QA. They are. Why is Cane Creek still in production and not in upcoming? Because it's not upcoming yet. The differentiation point is, while it's in production, primary work is still being done on it. When it moves to upcoming, primary work is done and it has entered the test cycle. Or it is queued to enter the test cycle, as is often the case now. Once it's within that, it will move up to the next stage. But Cane Creek's not far off. It is new, coming up fairly soon. Pretty certain it is anyway. There we go. What is QA? Quality assurance is QA. Basically, what their purpose is: does it work? Does this thing do what it's supposed to do? Are there problems with it? If so, send back to developers and go, oi, fix it. And between the QA team and the beta team, we get an awful lot, or beta if you're American. Between those two teams, we got a lot of feedback before stuff is released with regard to where stuff isn't working. That is then getting done. Could you maybe the suggestion?
We were saying that. I like the suggestion of, should we have a waiting for QA section?
No, because it won't be around for long. I have 92% confidence that is the case. That waiting for QA is not going to be around for long. We'll tell you when stuff is at that stage, particularly when it kicks around, as it has been doing of late on the roadmap now. But no, the roadmap itself, the document itself, is complicated enough. The level of detail that goes into now is complicated enough, and this is one of the reasons why the patch notes for today are currently absent. Is because when we put patch notes out, we want them to be accurate, and that is the point at which you will know everything that is in there, and that will include additional things like bug fixes. We did originally cover bug fixes on the roadmap, but bug fixes move so fast that it was impossible to keep an accurate track of what was and wasn't actually likely to see the daylight. And even if we were to put the ones we had a high level of confidence on, we wouldn't know exactly when they'd be bundled. We wouldn't know. We'd end up with an enormous great list that would be as static looking in places as we have now. And the decision was taken to remove that stuff from there because it was unreliable, unpredictable, and generally speaking, it was just going to make you unhappy. And the last thing we want to do is make you unhappy. Now, this is me. I'll get off my soapbox after this one, and we'll take some questions. My assertion at the moment is that you are happier with the state of affairs now versus 12 months ago in terms of information flow. Is that what we're doing now is better than you had a year ago. And I've seen some discontent with regard to the roadmap and the speed that things move through it. And if generally you feel like, actually, I'd rather not know, let us know. And if loads of you say we'd rather not know, then that's some time we can get back in our week to go and do some other work. But fundamentally, I think you're happier, or rather, having that extra knowledge is by and large a good thing, even though sometimes that information does not bring satisfaction in itself.
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah.
Yep.
Right, good. That's it. Soapbox done. Thrown away. Happy to take your feedback. Stick it in a forum rather than clog this up with any more of me soapboxing stuff. Very, very happy to take feedback on that stuff. Good. Right, let's do questions. Mystery update makes people unhappy. We have to give you mystery updates. There's two kinds of mystery update. There's today's mystery update, where that's just something went wonky behind the scenes, and we'll have that remedied in the next 24 hours. And then there's what is in the update for the Train Sim World 2 update that is on the list. You'll hear some of it on May the 4th. You'll hear everything about Rush Hour, and you'll hear some of what's in the update on May the 4th. Other things, there's still some movement going on in terms of what's going to be in the update. We'll obviously try and stick in as much as possible, but testing it and getting it working it's a moving feast. We're still a few months out yet, at least. There you go. Adam, have a go. I'm going to have a drink.
I've been noting some questions while we've been listening. And some answers then. Will Rapid Transit have journey mode? That is a yes. There are 3 chapters that have been added to Rapid Transit. Also, there are 2 chapters that have been added to the 182. Was the collectibles issue fixed on Long Island Railroad? Yes, that has been fixed. The issue, funnily enough, was that there were some collectibles placed from the Northeast Corridor route. That is why the number was wrong, because there was a mix-up about which collectibles were going on the route. So that's been fixed. Have we added the additional stations to Rapid Transit that have been built since the route was released? No. We haven't changed the route. The route is as is. We've been improving it and working on it, but we haven't done anything as drastic as add a new station. Are there any night lighting improvements? We actually have not been tackling night lighting improvements to date. On review and investigation and looking into it, that's a job that I want to put as a feature rather than minor improvements anywhere. So we're going to tackle that as a second cycle potentially. What does expanded scenario planner formations for the BR182 mean? So previously, I'm pretty sure, because I have a dev branch of Steam where I run what's been built for Train Sim World, so I don't necessarily see the live version all the time. But the previous, or the current release of the 182 only has the trains that you get in the timetable available, whereas what we've done is added a whole raft of different size trains, so 2-car, 3-car, 4-car, I think it goes up to maybe 5 or 6-car formations for the 182. So in Scenario Planner, you can run all kinds of different size trains. Will Rapid Transit be getting its flag? Yes. This has been a frustrating one. All the routes on our side do have the flags, but they're waiting for their releases to get those flags added. So it is surprising that we're still going on with routes that don't have flags. When are we fixing Peninsula Corridor issues? I don't have any information yet, but I can tell you that Peninsula Corridor is not far away now. It is homing into view. So
let's be a bit more specific. Is it the next batch that you're going to, or is it or are we looking further afield than that?
It will be the next batch of US routes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, as you know, that means it could be quite a few months before you see.
Well, this is it. Yeah, there's definitely a disconnect between when we're working on stuff and when we're actually releasing
There is a time lapse that is currently infinite between
Yes.
the work being done and then being released.
Yes,
Until
we
we
definitely-
release something, that time lapse is infinite.
Yes. And a great question here that Sam, I'm sure you'd be very interested to talk about as well, is the reason we have not released an editor because we're scared it will impact the sale of DLC?
Go and watch last week's stream. Is the answer to that one. Will it impact the sale of DLC? No, it really doesn't.
No,
If anything, it improves the sale of DLC. And
Yeah.
the reason it improves the sale of DLC, because with more, the more material people have to play with, the more they play with it. The more they play with it, the more opportunities we get to flog people's stuff.
Yes.
And therefore, we actually sell more. People who are constantly making use of something are that much more inclined to buy new stuff for it. Particularly if buying that stuff then opens up new options in the editor. So it's got absolutely zero to do with, oh no, we might lose money. No, we won't. We won't lose money. No, we don't. We just wouldn't. We'd make more. If we could release an editor, we would do.
We want the editor to be out there. You know, it frustrates us as much as it does everyone else.
There are just so many hurdles to overcome, most of them legal, that we can't do it. We might solve it one day, but at the moment there is zero likelihood of us solving it. As it stands right now, there is a zero likelihood, and it's been put on a shelf marked "don't" for the time being. A couple of 4th of May questions. I'm now going to word it 4th of May to avoid the people referencing 2 good Star Wars movies. And the question number 1 was Unreal Engine 4.26, to which the answer is 4th of May. And what else? There was another one on there as well. 4th of May is a roadmap day. Is there going to be a roadmap that day? Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you'll get some 4th of May action. Then we'll do the roadmap. You'll have a bunch of 4th of May type questions, and we'll go like, we're only talking about the roadmap. Anyone got any more questions? No, that's a 4th of May question. That's a 4th of May question. That one's a 4th of May question.
I
Please
will
put
have
your
to think
suggestion
about my
forward.
background for that day then.
So
that
yeah,
stream.
no. Right now the plan is a roadmap business as usual, except the roadmap will be packed out with what we have already spoken of in the 4th of May discussions, announcements, whatever it is. I don't actually know what form that's taking yet, but that'll be a nice surprise, won't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always plan stuff about an hour before I'm supposed to do it. Absolutely.
4th of May. Right. Yes. Good. Okay.
I always hear people talking a lot about 420 and today's date, funnily enough. So I need to go and find out why that's special.
Yeah. All right. Go on then. If you don't
I'm
already
just
know,
a great
go
question,
and
actually.
look it up.
Will the M7 work in the livery designer? Yes, it will. I think we removed the metallic shine from it. That did come up in a conversation. Should we leave it metallic or not? Both the M3 and the M7, when Long Island Railroad goes out, will have livery designer compatibility. So I need to remember that one. Did we remove the metallic? Because I think matte coloured did look a lot better. So yeah, we'll see.
Mr. J&B says, can I clarify something about the 101 cab car? Matt, if you're listening, you're on. There isn't even a model being released, is there? Not even a non-functioning one. Is that right? There isn't a cab car model attached to the back of the consist. That formation, whatever you want to call it. Train, I suppose. I don't actually know the answer to that one. What I will say, though, is that there is a 101 stream on Thursday, which is the launch day for it. It is the launch day this week, isn't it? Yeah. And you'll be able to ask exactly the same questions again, and you'll see it in action. Thank you. Mike. Mike has come through. What? Oh, I see. Mike says if you go to Steam and look at the screenshots, you will see the rear of the train on those screenshots. There is no cab car present at all. So it hasn't been modelled in the slightest, which actually does make that more like, it would have been the whole shebang that needed to be modelled. So there you are. Right, yeah, next.
There were some questions about will we get livery designer compatibility with the main Specibarn locomotives. At the moment, as it stands, that's a no. I haven't had an artist, a train artist, for the last couple of months, so there's been no movement on more livery designer stuff. There is still livery designer stuff to be released, but nothing that makes a package by the looks of it at the moment. So, yeah, that's... Oh, there we go. There's a screenshot. Awesome.
There's a screenshot. Thank you, Mike. That's Mike doing Mike stuff.
I thought you were pressing dodgy buttons there. I was like, oh, we just lost the stream.
That's the tail end of the 101 right there.
Cool.
Let me know if you need me to flash it back up again, but I figure you got everything you need. That's up on Steam anyway.
Yeah, cool.
So you can go see it for yourself.
There's lots of talk about LZB and different German systems on the main Specibarn locomotives. So the list I have for feature upgrades is that will be making sure that LZB works, that AFB works, that PZB works, and I believe we're getting the passenger information systems on the 146 as well, and I guess the Dostos to go with that. So yeah, that will be the first train actually that gets the passenger information system. So that'd be very cool.
Someone's saying, Mike, this is a good one for you to chime in on, actually. Is Rapid Transit going to get its proper route name? Because, of course, Rapid Transit came out at a time when we were still experimenting with what to call things. My guess, my recommendation, actually, would be no. We keep it as Rapid Transit because firstly, it will make it sound like it's a new thing, and it isn't. It might be getting rejuvenated, but it will make it sound. Mike is chipping in. It might make it sound like a new thing, but it isn't one. And for months, we will have the same questions about what route is this. Why can't I buy this route? And it kind of go because it's Rapid Transit and you already own it. And yeah, Mike's just confirmed there's no plans to change it.
Well, I was just sitting there going, oh my God, all the localization and all the subtitles and everything.
It's a big can of worms.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it came about where we had heavy freight rather than sandpatch grade. No, not heavy freight. What was it called?
Heavy haul.
Heavy haul. And then Rapid Transit, and then Northeast Corridor, which is slightly more accurate, I guess. But and then Great Western Express. We'd gone with kind of thematic names back then rather than descriptive, does what it says on the tin kind of names.
I kind of like the theme names, actually. I'm more a fan of the theme names. So long as it says Rapid Transit, Dessau to Leipzig,
that's different, though. And then you're making it more wordy. Try and get that to fit on a store page somewhere before it cuts off the tail end of it.
Well, funnily enough, actually, we find that the store page names are longer than the names that we put in the game because we do have a cap on how long we can put names in the game.
I know.
So we do find the store names longer.
Yeah, well, that's not my problem.
It's not mine.
So yeah, there you are. A Rapid Transit unlikely to change its name. Yeah, there we go. What else we got going on? If Penzance is set in 1950, will there be the wreck of the HMS Warspite at Marizian? Well, that's something we'd all like to know.
Absolutely.
Right, next question. Any news on the Cornwall St Ives route? No, other than that there is one. For those of you who missed the start of the stream, we covered this already, but we'll cover it again because it's the sexiest new thing on there. So the West Cornwall route that has been added to the roadmap. We've got no further details for you at the time. The reason that there is no loco listed currently is because we haven't established exactly what is going to be running on there yet. Yeah, there we are. As soon as that changes, we'll let you know.
A great question here, actually. So if the MSB 146 gets dynamic destinations on it, will that update all 146s? No, each instance of the BR146 in Train Sim World needs to be done individually. If there are two in different DLCs, they would have to be updated each separately. So
Yeah.
only one at a time will be updated.
What happened to Steam articles every month? Asks Atomic World, capitalising the word Steam for extra emphasis and then using colourful question marks. We got busy. That's it. Fundamentally, I got busy. Matt got busy, and it's an interplay usually between me and Matt. The next one is going to be on the topic of recreating bygone routes and how that environmental stuff works. You know what? I'll arrange a date with Matt to do that as soon as possible. We're not purposefully going slow on them. It's just that there's always more stuff begging for attention earlier on. Steam is still on target, I should say. It's trundling along, and the bulk of when you'll see cool and interesting stuff about Steam is going to be post rush hour. So what we're trying to do is give you a little bit more insight into the process for actually bringing it to life in the first place. And obviously that only works if we actually put that insight together and then give it to you. So I'll tell you what, we'll get together a little bit more insight, and then as a party piece follow-up, we'll give it to you. So yeah, sorry for the wait on that one, but we got busy. Flipping Rail Fan Fest, which was great, by the way. There is, I'm even going to fish up the link, right? Adam, cover me for a moment. For those of you who went to Rail Fan Fest or saw a bit of it, we'd love to get your feedback so that we know what we're doing next time round. I'm just going to fish up the survey link. Adam, cover.
So yeah, a few extra questions on the 146. What do I mean by the passenger information systems? So this is the destination on the front of the train. It has a dot matrix display, as well as down the side of the carriages there is a display that says where the train's going and what stations it'll be stopping at. This is a system, I think, was it first introduced on Cologne? So yeah, we're working on that. And some questions about, has the audio been improved for rapid transit locomotives? So yeah, I've got the Talent 2 has been improved, getting thumbs up from the beta team about that. The 182, the work has been done on that as well to improve the sounds. The MSB, the main specified stock, hasn't yet been updated, but this is because my technical guy Martin has been away getting trained on some new features and some German technical systems. So he's going to come back and then finish up the sound improvements on the main specified trains. What are the trains that are used on the new rapid transit timetable? So obviously it uses the BR1442 Talent 2 for a large amount of the services. Then it also appears on there is the 182. That has a different set of services, so they're not simply running the same services in a different train. I've also made use of the BR143 from Rursig. Again, if you have that train and you see it on the rapid transit timetable, then it will be doing, again, different services to any of the previous trains. And while we don't have the main Leipzig station, so there was nowhere to run it in, I have been putting in some BR406 ice trains running around the Bitterfeld area. So spotting on Bitterfeld station would be quite interesting. They run, I think, roughly every half an hour. And then finally, before I let Sam speak again...
You're doing fine. Carry on.
I've lost where I was going. Oh, we haven't added the extra station. Is it Leipzig Esser? Esser maybe, just south of Leipzig Messe. We haven't added that station. The route is staying as is for now. So
yeah. Bjorn saying one day will PIS be on every route and train in Train Sim World 2 where it fits. That's the aim.
Yeah.
I can't give you a 100% cast iron guarantee that it will happen because we don't know exactly what the future holds. But the aim is yes. That's the it's very much a covering your own backside kind of a deal there, but there it is. Stu, unrelated, asks, diesel fumes from locos aren't affected by bridges and tunnels and the like. They go straight through. They cut through. There's a good physicsy reason for that, which means that it's really difficult to solve. When steam is released, will the physics for the exhaust take into account environment around the locomotive? That is a question that I shall cover with Matt, and we'll go into the details of why it does what it does and exactly what the impact is of resolving that. Matt, start doing your homework. Can't give you an answer yet because we don't know yet because we haven't built it yet. The other thing that I saw, Adam, what are you working on after Bakerloo and West Somerset? Don't answer that. We'll put it on the next roadmap.
Yes.
Because then you'll be coming up to the end of your Bakerloo West Somerset loop.
Yes, yeah.
So
as we said right at the start, a bit of a lull. So the next roadmap about Bakerloo and West Somerset will be a good one for sure.
Yeah. So the next roadmap we'll stick it on that.
Yeah. So a question about, were we still trying to get the sound and the audio from the Cologne 442 Talent 2 and put that onto the Rapid Transit Talent 2? We did try. They are significantly different in the way they've been built in the software. So it wasn't in any way a case of lifting them from one and putting them on the other. We have moved over as many sounds as we could. And then we've worked on improving the issues that have been reported to us about the Rapid Transit Talent 2. So, yeah, we've done as best we could for now. As I say, because this is a rolling road with the preservation crew, we no doubt there will be more feedback once we've released these updates. So, again, please register on the forum. Please make sure you submit Kayaku tickets. We will then come back and see what else we need to do, if anything. And then, yes, also, sorry, the ice train that I've used on the Rapid Transit Timetable is the one that comes with Cologne. So if I've got the 403, 406 mixed up, I do apologise. But definitely it's the one that comes with Cologne. So if you have Trains in World 2, then that ice train should appear for you on Rapid Transit if you then have Rapid Transit.
Okay, Jake has asked a couple of times, so I'll answer him. Have we? Did I say that the 313 was about to enter QA? It's there or thereabouts that it's QA would, but it's not. You can see it's still in production at the moment, which means it's either still having core work done to it, it's finishing up core work done to it, or it's just starting having core work done to it. It is in a process of development. When it is coming up on the QA cycle to prep it for release, then it will move into upcoming. As soon as we get it into that stage, you'll know because you'll see it on the roadmap. The roadmap's actually pretty good, It might not be as hot and exciting as you might like, but it does serve its purpose and it does do quite well in defence of the flipping roadmap. No, it does what it sets out to do. And that is to give you a broad sense of where stuff is. It might stay in that same place for a very, very long time, but it still gives you a broad sense of where that stuff is. Right. Is there any kind of
you
PIS
can't drive. Just sorry, the question about the ICE 3 on Rapid Transit. You can't drive the ICE 3. The LZB section has been enabled, but you can't drive the ICE 3. On it, it only runs through the Bitterfeld area. Yeah.
Okay. What was the other one I was going to answer? Because what happened to the tunnel effect audio?
I need to check. There's actually so many notes on what we've changed. I need to check if that was on the list. I know that there were art improvements and art changes to the tunnels, so I need to check if the audio's on there as well. Someone has asked, why have you made timetable improvements to Rapid Transit but not Long Island Railroad? We're not biased. The Rapid Transit timetable as it stands was very thin, and the route was conducive to adding a new timetable. We have tests of a new timetable. Matt is in the stream with us. So we have tests of Long Island, a new timetable, but Long Island needs improvements to its signalling system, and the preservation crew doesn't have the skill yet to change something like a signalling system on a route.
Yeah, I mean that's
yeah.
the same. It's the same roadblock that is stopping Bakerloo getting more services, and I mean it's a different, but it's the same kind of causal factor. Is we're waiting for upgrades to that system, because what you're really talking about there is timetable density, and Long Island has long been regarded as, you know, this is one of the busiest commuter lines in the world. And yet here I am waiting 45 minutes for the next service. We get that that is at odds with reality, but in the same way as Bakerloo needs more services adding to it to get closer to a real level of service, they're both waiting for kind of the same tech upgrade. Basically, it's not even a fix; it's just an upgrade to the tech that we use at the moment in order to make that work. Matt was telling me that, I can't remember which route it was, Matt. We were talking about timetabling changes, but he said that he started work on a Friday evening, and then worked effectively, you know, on and off over 48 hours to make a timetable work. That was you know, he put in, you know, 30 plus hours on just getting a fairly straightforward update to a timetable done, because there is no real wiggle room. The Diesel Legends timetable, there's no wiggle room within kind of standard service operations, based on the way that our signalling and dispatching tech currently operates. So it's one that we definitely want to update, because in doing so it frees us up to do some very cool, a great deal of cool new stuff when it comes to timetables.
Yeah, I mean, to give you an idea of this timetable for rapid transit, it's taken, while I have been able to do other work, it's actually taken the best part of 3 weeks to make this new timetable. And I would say that I probably built the timetable in the first 3 or 4 days. And then the rest of that time has been simulating it and checking how the trains are running around, and ironing out issues where trains get stuck behind each other. One train knocks on every other train. Maybe they're calling it the wrong platform, where I've got this ginormous graph in Unreal of where all the trains are stopping, and I've made a platform 2 instead of a platform 1 somewhere, and the whole simulation can get stuck. So yeah, it takes 3 or 4 times the amount of time to build it does to get it to work and test it. So, and the other question I saw was, what is the time based on? I've grabbed the latest Mitteldeutschland timetables for rapid transit. So the S1, the S2, the S6, and the S8 lines. I grabbed those timetables, and they're what the rapid transit timetable is based on.
When you say based on, does it replicate that timetable?
That's where it started, but because we don't have the same number of stations, because there is a new station, and a lot of the routes go on and off and move around from the route we have, then it started with those times, and then I've adjusted it to make sure it works. So they might not be exactly to the real timetable, but they're certainly based on it.
Okay. War never changes. I'd take another swing at your question. Any answer at all in regard to trophies? Are we stuck with what we have? My initial answer is yeah, but my follow-up there is, what's the problem? I'll keep an eye out for your re-question there, because we want to answer the questions, obviously, but sometimes they zip past. Yeah, right, okay.
So a great one about the ESRB section on rapid transit. It is currently set at 160. I think the real life route is 200 kilometers an hour, but no, we have not changed that. We have left it at 160 on rapid transit. But the ESRB system has been activated on that section.
Is the dispatcher work coming along well? It's not on the roadmap.
No movement.
Not at the moment, so it's not moving at the moment. It's partly tied into memory use as well, because obviously you need better memory use if you're going to be running more services. So there's like a chain of things that hook together, and that's one of them. And these are kind of core tech updates But it's not one that is independently, actively being pursued at the moment.
So a great question about have we tried to add freight into this new timetable? There were restrictions in the route that meant the freight areas you'd want to use to be able to start or end a service were cut off, and we ran out of time to be able to complete those. So there's no freight in this timetable.
War Never Changes is back. The trophies have massive requirements to fulfill. Some do, some don't. There's one about operating a rail vehicle for 10,000 miles. Sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to be able to complete everything quickly. You know, the part of driving trains is to drive them long distance and to drive them a lot. So we want the satisfaction or achievement when you have driven 10,000 miles that you actually get recognised for that. So yeah, we do get a lot of feedback about some achievements are too easy or some achievements are too hard. But you know, it's not about a game that could be completed in 5 minutes. We see this as a hobby, so you want to get rewarded.
I was about to use the H word. Is the way we think of it now? I mean, we'll get told off by people when we call it a game.
I know.
And we get told off by different people when we call it a simulator. Personally, I think of it as a game. Other people think of it as a simulator. You can think of it as whatever you like. But fundamentally, what we aim to build is something that is different to other games. With most other games, you play it, you finish it, you move on. Obviously, there are many exceptions to that rule. But in our case, this is closer to, Matt calls it an entertainment simulator. Well, it's only pretending to be entertainment. Interesting.
Yes.
This is closer to the hobby of building a model railway, whereby you get your starter set, you whiz it around the kitchen table for a bit, and then you kind of go, right, I'm now going to do this a little bit more seriously. I attach it to a baseboard, and then I'm going to buy another train to stick on that as well. I'm going to buy some more track so that I can run more trains next to each other. It is closer to that's the mentality that we build against, which is it's a hobby. There is a catalogue of ways in which you can expand on it. I mean, for those of you who came via Train Simulator, so the original, you'll know that there is a vast array of stuff that you can add to it, so that you can tailor the experience to be one that is true to you. And we do the same. We're doing the same thing with Train Sim World. Is we want a massive array of different experiences that you can add into your hobby. So when you say, and let's be clear, 10,000 miles is a heck of a long way. But you're not supposed to do it in the same time that you would normally try to achieve everything within one game. You might get it done 2 years from now. You might get it done 5 years from now. It'll still be around, and we'll still be doing stuff with it. So it's not intended to be a short-term thing. It is supposed to be a decent scale accomplishment when you get there. Now, I know those of you who are trophy hunters particularly, there is a very... I know trophy hunters because I used to work for Sony. And that sense of urgency and need to go and accomplish everything and complete it all and get your platinum at the end of it, I get it, and we as a company get it as well. But that's not it's not what we're making, basically. There you go.
Cool. I saw a great question there. Have the main specifier on locomotives been given new sounds as part of the update? Not to my knowledge. We are only working with the sounds that are already there and making sure they are back up to speed before the Train Sim World 2 release. So yeah, no new sounds for that.
Yeah.
Can we, like Rapid Transit, can we add more layers to existing timetables on other routes? At the moment, I would definitely say no, because adding layers means that you've got to fit those trains in around existing trains. And that is significantly harder than making a brand new timetable. So, for instance, on Rapid Transit, what you'll find when we do get the update out is that you'll now be able to choose between a 2017 timetable and a 2021 timetable. So yeah, it's a lot easier to add new timetables now thanks to that tech.
I'm having a go. Be quiet. No, you always queue up 3 in a row.
Yeah, well,
I've got because I want to keep up with the scroll. Otherwise, I have to pause the scroll. You see, Cole Cone says regarding distances, will routes be longer in the future? Routes in the future will be longer. They will also be shorter. They will also be exactly the same size as they are now. We're constantly working on ways and means whereby building a route out is done in a more efficient way. We're increasingly developing technology to make the act of creating a route more painless, less painful. Put it whichever way you like. And in so doing, it does mean that the opportunity to create longer routes, it presents itself more readily. But what we say, whenever we talk about route length, always remember that the fundamental is how much is there within that space. So how much is there that is out of the ordinary? A straight piece of track going for 500 miles is a doddle if there's no scenery. A straight piece of track that has 20 stations along the way, and each one of those is slightly different, and then it's going through a bit of a town and then some countryside, and then it goes through a tunnel, and then it's got some cliffs, and it's got a bit of river and well, that's a significant amount more work. It is not about the end-to-end distance, it's about what the filling of that sandwich is. The more complicated the filling, the less the sandwich bread parts are from one another. My analogy has fallen apart, friends. But I think you get what I'm saying. Is it's about the density of gameplay that exists between those two endpoints. The greater the density, the closer those endpoints need to be to one another. If we have a route like LGV, for example, where it's actually a slightly longer route, but it's because there is less in between those routes that are particularly intensive to build in the first place. Stations, sidings, yards, all of that kind of stuff are especially intensive. Areas of high amounts of signalling and points and junctions and all that kind of stuff, highly intensive to get that stuff built. So there's a balancing act to be done.
Well, let's not forget as well that you can walk around on foot. You don't have to be on the train at all. So we take that into account. So yeah, the whole "it's not long enough" is a fascinating topic that comes up a lot at Dovetail, and we do talk a lot about it when we decide routes and choose routes and review routes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Matt says the question we ask is it fun rather than is it long?
Yeah, exactly.
And once in a while, we'll definitely go, okay, there's not much in this one, but it's long. So that means that people who do love a bit of high speed, or they love the kind of, really lengthy freight consists that do take a couple of hours at least to get from point A to point B, we do try to tailor to those people once in a while as well. But ultimately, we try and go, because we know what a kind of standard session length is, and we know that by standard session, we know how long people kind of prefer to play for, based on all of the information we've gathered in the back end on Train Simulator. We know what length is kind of preferable, and it is around that kind of 20 to 45 minute mark. So we try to tailor experiences as much as possible to land in that 20 to 45 minute zone. But then with timetable services, they extend out quite quickly. An hour plus is fairly typical for a full length stopping passenger service, for example. If you're running a decent length freight train, you can go an hour plus without breaking a sweat in many cases, especially if they're switching at either end.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right. You can have 2 more questions, Adam, and then we'll call it a
day. Is there any word on the PIS discussions for West Somerset? So PIS is Passenger Information Systems, or the departure boards on the stations. So a great topic came up when we mentioned last stream that West Somerset, being a preserve railway, clearly does not have digital displays on its stations. That is something we've been looking at the whole time. We haven't come up with a solution yet, but we really do like the idea of having the chalkboards. The number of services on West Somerset that is actually, a full day's timetable probably would work well on the chalkboard. So we are still targeting that chalkboard artwork for West Somerset PIS. And coming back to the hours thing, about how many hours you spend playing or enjoying Train Sim. On the Rail Fan Fest, I was asked how many hours I've logged in Train Sim and Train Sim World. And I was really surprised when I went back and looked at that I've played fully through a number of games, and I thought, oh, wow, they're going to be really high hours. But a complete playthrough of a first-person game was like 20 to 25 hours. I was crazed. Whereas on Train Sim World, I've clocked up, several thousand, which is really, really cool. It is seen as a hobby, not as a game.
Yeah, it's what you choose it to be. I personally, I'll run through a route maybe half a dozen times and kind of go like, I love that there is more to do here when I feel like it. I mean, I'm in a privileged position whereby obviously I get to play everything, but no, it's nice to know that there is always more to do and always more to improve at. Yeah.
And then I did have one final one. I love the question, so I really want to get it in.
Yeah, go.
On the platform departure boards for the new timetable, does it show the stations off the route or the last station that it stopped at? At the moment, I have had it back from the beta forum that the departure boards show the last station that the player can get to. I am trying to sort out so that it shows the correct station at the end. I believe that technology is there, but I haven't made use of it yet. So I am trying to get that one in before the rapid transit update.
Yeah,
that's me.
Okay, that's it for today. The next roadmap update is going to be on the 4th of May, unless I hear otherwise. But I haven't heard otherwise, having referenced it a few times, so that is obviously still the plan. On the 4th of May, we will be talking about exactly what's coming. Well, no, let's say the word exactly. Why not? Hey, let's not be afraid of it. Exactly what's coming with Train Sim World 2 Rush Hour. If you're still uncertain as to what that is, rewatch this stream. We talk about it. There's detail in there. And you'll also get some detail about what's going into the Train Sim World 2 update that is happening at a similar time to Rush Hour. There you go. That's good. Tomorrow you have the ever twirling roundabout of mirth, merriment and adventure that is Workshop Wednesday for Train Simulator. Matt and Jamie will be taking you on a voyage of exploration into the dark, seedy underbelly of the Steam Workshop, where they will be coming out with gold and showing it to you. No, I don't know what they're playing. And then on Thursday, the DBBR 101 is released, and there will be a preview, a release day stream, where you can see it in action and make a decision of whether it is or is not for you. Thanks very much for watching today. Adam, say good night to the nice people.
Good night, nice people.
Okay, some of them are during the day. Say goodbye, nice people. Sorry, I should have said that to start with. Some of them it's already night time. I'm just going to cue this up. Go on, finish. Takes to the bridge, Adam.
Goodbye, everyone. It's been great chatting. I look forward to the next stream. See you all.
Cheerio.